Well, hello, Young and the Restless Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Friday, April the 28th, 2023. Friday, April the 28th. Woo! Yeah, it was interesting. Not a lot, Young and the Restless doesn't move a lot, but they had some interesting conversations today. We had, and I love this, everybody. If looks could kill. Michael and Lauren, went to, of course, everybody now is going to be in the lounge, in the Neil Winters Jazz Lounge. That's the place to be, right? And they're having drinks. And Michael picks up his drink and he goes in like, let's toast, Lauren. Let's click glasses. Lauren is stirring her martini. And he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, go ahead, Lauren, go ahead, right? And he says something about, how was your day? She looks at him, fine. Oh, goodness, that weather is something else. So we're doing that now? We're talking about the weather? And he's looking, what would you like to talk about? I mean, I don't know if we should be here because this has bad memory. I can't think of a better place to be. This is where we last saw our best friend. And I want to talk about her. So you want to talk about Phyllis? Yes, I do. And she gives him the heave, which he knew. You knew how I felt about me taking this case. You took it anyway. When you were asked to take the case, when Diane asked you when they were hauling her off, you said no because you knew you shouldn't have. You knew it. Lauren, everyone deserves a good defense. It's an attorney's job to present a good defense, and everyone deserves one to the best of their ability. And Lauren said there are plenty of top-notch attorneys out there, Michael. Didn't have to be you. One who is, so closely involved with the deceased, the victim, and the killer. Lauren has not been, Diane has not been proven guilty. And Lauren, don't you think if I truly, honestly felt Diane was guilty, I would take her case? So Lauren says, the evidence says she's guilty. She goes, there's something, Lauren, there's something not right here. I've talked to Diane. I've looked her in her eyes. I don't believe she did this. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, because she didn't, yikes, right? But anyway, Lauren says, you know what? Let's even say Diane didn't do it. She systematically set out to destroy Phyllis. That was her main goal since she got back here. She made her last months here a living, right? Now, yes, Phyllis did put a lot of stress on herself. Phyllis fell into a lot of the trap. She did. She was her own worst enemy. But Diane was there. She was like, Diane is by far not innocent at all. And Michael's just sitting there. And so Lauren's talking and he's like, Lauren, have faith in me that I would not represent Phyllis's killer. Have faith. She goes, Michael, has nothing to do. I have all the faith in you. And I believe in you. And it's because I have faith in you to do the right thing. And that is not representing Diane. and you let me down. And Lauren's like, and I can't do it. Can't. You know what? You were right. This is the wrong, we shouldn't have come here. Wow, and Lauren gets up and walks right on out. Michael's sitting there. She's like, you're right. Nope, can't do it. And no, she even asked him, what changed your mind? Because you weren't going to do this. And do you know, he said, which I thought that was the reason. He said, Nikki and Victor so smugly told me what I should and should not do. And if I did, it's going to cost me he says, no, they don't get to dictate like that to me. And Lauren's just looking at him because guess what? Lauren don't want him working for Victor anyway, right? She's like, okay, good. You're going to lose your job? That's on you. Okay, I'm cool with that. But long as you are cool with the fact that we got some problems, me and you, right now, until I cool off, however long it's going to take me, right? So then we have Daniel comes back to the park, and now it's nighttime. And Summer's still there, same spot, looking for her mother to come back, right? Really, that's what it is. And I thought, well, that's sad. Summer didn't even go home. And when Daniel came back, when she heard somebody coming and she said, Mom? And Daniel's like, it's me, Daniel. I came back to check on you. He was hoping she wasn't still there. And do you know, she told him the whole thing. She sure did. I saw Mom. She did. This is really wearing on her. She goes, didn't you see her too? And he's like, I see her all the time. I see her in my dreams. Sometimes when I'm on the street, I think I see her across it. And Summer then she realized, no, wait a minute, that's not what I'm talking about. I really saw her, And so Daniel's like, Summer, she's gone. No, Daniel, she's not. She's not dead. She's not gone. And she goes, no, Stark was pressuring her and this, that, and the other. And I saw her. She didn't really say, look, this text is from her. That's who I was waiting for when you got here. After you left, she came out. She told me she's going away until she could come up with the story. One that'll work. Summer didn't tell him all that, but she tried. I mean, she's confused. She's part of her mind. She's wondering, did I really see her? And so she's like, you don't believe me. You don't believe me. You think I'm crazy. He's like, I think you're grieving. She's like, you just have to see her. You just have to see. I wish you could. And so then she goes to the banister and she's just yelling, Mom, just all out, in this part. Mom. And I was just like, oh no, that kind of touched me, everybody. It touched me a little bit. I thought, man, she's jacked up. Okay. And so he goes and he puts his arm around her. And he's, Summer, we're going to get through this together, Summer. And he talks to her and she goes, no, she is alive. Stark tried to forced her into marrying him. Stark did this. She didn't tell him she killed Stark, or maybe she did say she had to kill Stark because he was trying to kill. I don't know. I couldn't remember everything Summer said. And so one thing Daniel said, Summer, I need you to think about this. Let's say what you're saying is true. And we go to the police. You do know they're going to look for her. And they're going to arrest her. And Diane will be let out of jail. And our mother will be put into jail and convicted. Do you understand that? Do you see what would happen? And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, Daniel, if I didn't know any better, I would think you knew, right? huh. He's like, so the best thing is that she's nowhere around. But Daniel, he's not talking as if Phyllis is really alive because he don't know. But just his whole analogy was, I was thinking, man, spot on. You Phyllis's son. You sure are. Goodness, you came up with that. And so he's like, you're right, you're right. He goes, Summer, we need to lean on each other. And we need to get through this together. He's like, the first thing that needs to happen, I need to get you out of here and I need to take you home. Right? So she goes, I just need another minute. I need one more minute, just another minute, Daniel. And he goes, okay. So he kind of walked away just a bit and she's looking back. She's looking at where she saw Phyllis and where they were together. And she kind of not smiled, but kind of got a little peace because within herself, I think she's thinking, I know she's alive. I do know. See, because before she came into that part today, she thought her mother was dead and got lost for her forever, right? And now at least she knows she's not dead and I will see my mother again. So now she's going to be able to go back and have some peace, but I don't know how she's going to handle it. But one thing with her telling Daniel the truth and her seeing and witnessing Daniel's reaction to the truth, he thinks she's kind of crazy. Like he thinks she's just totally bereaved and not thinking straight. She understands no one else would believe her either. Everyone else would think she's having a breakdown. So I think that would be one reason why she wouldn't tell anybody. After telling Daniel the truth, the reaction or response she got, she's not going to tell anybody else because she knows, nah, And then Jack finally takes some time to stop thinking about Diane and he thought about Phyllis because Billy told him Billy's at the office working. He's the only one keeping Jabal afloat. And right now they're having Billy be the voice of reason for a lot of people. Wow, Billy Abbott, okay? And he's doing a darn good job. And he told Jack, he says, Jack, you have been, because Jack told him how he went after hours back to the jail and asked Diane to marry him and she said no. And Billy is like, Jack, I think you need to slow down. And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, you're putting every bit of emotion you have into Diane, the Diane situation. He says, Jack, you have not even grieved Phyllis. And first Jack was like, no, I have. I am sorry Phyllis is dead. But no, and Billy's like, but no, you haven't grieved her. He says, that woman has been a part of your life for decades, Jack. And you have not grieved her. You haven't even allowed, he goes, like, yeah, you haven't even allowed yourself to think about what she meant to you. Because you've turned every bit of emotion into Diane. And so Chelsea called, Billy had to take it. And when Billy stepped out, Jack remembered the different phases of he and Phyllis. And I tell you, I remember that short-haired Phyllis. Oh boy, did I remember her well, right? When he asked her to marry him. And then I forgot the fact that she lost their baby. I forgot that whole story, how she lost her baby. If anybody can remember it, in comment corner, can you tell me how Phyllis miscarried? And she was all broken and he was just like, but I love you, Phyllis. I have everything I can. It's like Jack could never have any kids with somebody he's in a relationship with, right? Diane had to artificially inseminate herself. And she thought it was Victor's sperm. And it was really Jack's. But anyway, then the next he remembered was her, and I didn't have that picture. I didn't put it up. where she was trying to explain away how her fling with Nick didn't really mean anything. It didn't really. No, you know what? It's over. It was fun. And Jack was like, no, nope. you know, it ain't over like that. It wasn't, he didn't let her brush that off. And thank goodness he didn't, because she and Nick nowhere near was finished. And then Phyllis comes up pregnant. And then they didn't know whose it was. Jack's thinking it's his, praying, hoping it was his, that this was the do-over for the baby they lost. Phyllis is secretly wishing she was happy it was Nick's, right? Because Nick was just that young thing. Woo, hey, And so I know they found out before the baby was born whose baby it was, because when they were stuck in the elevator, they had been there for hours, and she's leaning up against him, and he's helping her with, because I guess she was having some contractions, and he's helping her. And he was saying, we're going to get you out of this elevator, Red. We're going to get you to the hospital, and you're going to have your little girl. So she already knew it was a girl. And when he said, the way he said your little girl wasn't our little girl. And she's got her eyes closed, and she goes, and Nick will be there for the delivery. And his poor little face, as he's kind of looking up like, oh, that should be me, right? Should be me. And so he goes, well, yeah, he goes, I could use a substitute. I could use a break in this, right? Because he'd been in hours dealing with her with this. And she goes, she kind of sits up. She goes, I hope you didn't mean that. He's like, why? She goes, because my water just broke. And then we know the whole story. Jack ended up delivering the baby in the elevator. So that was a monumental event that they shared together. And then he remembered back when he was trying to fight his addiction. He was going to go up to that cabin and go through withdrawals all on his own, right? He was going to beat these pills. He had tried many times before. And Phyllis shows up there. And initially he's like, what are you doing here? I don't want you here. I could do this alone. And she was like, it needs to be done, but you can't do it alone. She's like, look, and I don't even know if I'm the one who is qualified to help you through this. Because she says, if you want, I could call Ashley, I could call Tracy. And then he's like, no. You are the only one. You are the one, right? And boy, I can remember that weekend, Jack was going through it. He went through every phase of that withdrawal, from being abusive to her verbally. And Phyllis had to put on the toughest coat of armor to help Jack through that, because he turned it on her, right? Brought up everything she did. And, at one point they want to blame you for their addiction. And she's like, you can say whatever you want, Jack, bring it on. She's like, because I ain't going nowhere. You're not driving me away. And they came through that weekend with him, detoxing out the major part of it. And without her, he wouldn't have been able to do it. And they were very, very close after that. And he always credits her for sticking with him and helping him beat his addiction. And then that other picture here is years later. Actually, this was 2 years ago, when Summer and Kyle were going to get married. They were already in Milan. And remember, Phyllis and Nick were back together again for the ninth time, whatever. Oh, goodness, she'd been back and forth with Nick as many times as she'd been back and forth with Jack, probably more with Nick, right? And she was with Nick, and Jack was just her friend, her boyfriend, her friend, right? And Jack was in the middle of everything. And finally, Jack says, look, I have to tell you this. And he told her he loved her. never stopped. And he told her, that's why he says, since us, if you notice, I've never had a real romantic relationship. I'm thinking, I guess you discounting the brief marriage you had to Sharon, right? Because that was a farce and a scam. Brief, I mean, come on, him and Sharon. Sharon couldn't wait to sleep with Billy. Come on now. And Phyllis was like, Jack, I'm not gonna hold you to something because you've been drinking. He goes, I'm not drunk. I know what I'm saying to you. It's always been you. And see, Jack did one even better. He went and told Nick exactly what he told Phyllis. Oh, and he told Nick, he said, but look, I am not going to be pursuing Phyllis. I just wanted you to know my feelings for her, just like I wanted her to know. And I thought, well, that's a little awkward, Jack, right? And sure enough, when Phyllis and Nicholas, they made that stupidly with the whole Ashland Locke situation, how he turned away from Phyllis ridiculously, shutting her out for no real reason. Jack was right there to pick up the pieces and hold their hand. Oh, red, oh, red. Matter of fact, Jack and Phyllis were the ones sitting together at Summer and Kyle's wedding because Nicholas refused. No, not Summer and Kyle's wedding. I'm sorry. At Victoria and Ashland's wedding because Nick refused to go. So Phyllis and Jack went. But anyway, Jack finally got to remember, yes, I did love her and I'm sorry she's gone. And Billy came back in after his phone conversation and they talked. And Jack is like, you know what, you were right. I just did not allow myself to really grieve or think about Phyllis. And really, that brief conversation wasn't a whole grief cycle, but at least he thought about her. And now he's right back to Diane. So whatever, however long it lasted. Okay, you go, Jack. So Jack goes home. Tucker, because earlier Tucker shows up. Ashley's like, wow, you took me up on it and you're moving in tonight, right? He goes, yeah. And so she's like, well, is this all that you bring in? He goes, well, I didn't completely move out of the athletic club. And she goes, oh. He goes, yeah, I gotta see if this gonna work first, right? She goes, good plan. So she goes, well, let me show you your room. And so she goes, here's the stairs. And they're walking up the stairs. And he goes, they go all the way up. She goes, yes, they do. And he goes, and then do they come down? His childlike humor sometimes, it makes you chuckle because it made Ashley chuckle as she goes, yes, they come all the way back down too. She's taking him up. And she took him to his room. And then they come back down and they're sitting on the couch. And he's just saying how, nope, he plans on spending his day, seducing her and, winning her back. And she's just sitting there. She goes, you're going to have to find a purpose in life. This is my purpose. He goes, no, you're going to have, now that you sold the company, what's next for you career wise? She's like, we gotta, I'm thinking, Ashley, don't try to design the man's life. Let him, he's a millionaire, multi-millionaire. Let him do him. He'll figure it out. Tucker still had money before he sold his company. Remember, they said his personal assets were pretty doggone high. It was the business that was in the toilet. So anyway, Jack comes in and he looks, he sees them sitting next to each other. Tucker turns like, hey. Jack. And so Ashley goes, Jack, because Jack's in front now by the fireplace. Jack, Tucker's my guest. And you better get used to it. And Jack is like, and why is that? Oh, because I've asked him to move in. He's moved in. And Tucker starts smiling like, yes, I have. Yes, I have. And so Jack says, you what? She says, oh, well, I figured since you told me that your personal life and what you choose to do is none of my business, that surely goes both ways. My personal life and what I choose to do. She did everything but say, and who you chose to move in. She goes, it's none of your business either. All he could do was bite, Jackie, bite that lip. And he doesn't even engage. He's like, in his mind, he's thinking, I don't have the mental bandwidth to engage in this fight. I just can't do it, right? He turns and he walks away, and Tucker's looking. And when Jack goes up the stairs, he goes, well, that went well. She goes, yeah. And I'm like, yes, yes. And then they showed, it's going to be so funny. They showed scenes from next week, right? They show Audra and Elena are having their little coffee. So you know Elena's going to spill the beans. I mean, not Elena. Audra is going to spill the beans to Elena. And there we go. What did I say? They're just doing it a little bit different. Tucker's in his robe. He's got the teapot or the coffee pot with the coffee cups, and he's got the little, oh, and he's like getting ready to go upstairs, probably to provide it to Ashley, and he goes, well, good morning. Hey, Jack. With a hold of the tray. And Jack is just looking like, let's see what Jack says. Because Diane made no qualms of making herself right at home in that house, right at home. So this is getting ready to be funny, y'all. It's going to be funny what happens. So we'll see, how the story, what turns it takes. We could tell there's going to be trouble for Nate. That's definitely a given. And Nate deserves to have some trouble. Nate truly deserves to have a little bit of trouble. So let's go to comment corner. I kind of glanced through the comments and I have some folks mad at me. And actually some folks kind of misunderstood what I was saying just because I was mad and cursing at Phyllis. But anyway, Patricia says, you are so right about Phyllis. She even said, if I confess, Diane will go free. Her hatred for Diane outweighs the love for her children. Summer could be indicted for participating in the cover-up, or she can have a mental breakdown. Look, she seemed like she was having a mental breakdown when she was talking to Daniel. Daniel is also in a fragile state. Hope Summer tells Chance or Sharon, nope, she told Daniel, or someone else that she saw Phyllis, someone else will see Phyllis and collaborate Summer's story. People misunderstand Chance. He is underestimate Chance. He is a great detective and will expose Phyllis's deception. And then Libby says, if Chance let Victor off for the Ashland cover up and let Jack and Nikki off for their theft, meaning Jack and Diane off for their theft, I'll be pretty mad if he locks up Phyllis. Not that I like what she did, but come on, I know. Chance would have to say, oh my God, this corrupt town. And then Tammy, and Tammy's, I think, one of our newer commenters. Tammy says, hey, there's us, Phyllis and Jack fans out there. Love those two. Don't even go there. Ooh, don't even go where, Tammy? Don't go where, right? Because we talking about Phyllis and Jack. Are you talking about Phyllis and Jack fans as a couple? Because Jack kicked her to the curb last year, now didn't he? So Sheila says, Nate is a snake, clueless about Victoria. I don't believe she will stay with him for the long haul. Absolutely not. Hopefully, Victoria will eventually trip up herself playing with Nate. Victoria has never, ever stayed with a man where she was in charge, ever. With JT, she was not in charge of that relationship. She couldn't boss JT around, couldn't tell him what to do. With Billy Abbott, whoa, Billy was like Billy was like dynamite sometimes. She definitely liked the unpredictableness in Billy, and she could not tell Billy what to do. Ashlyn, she thought she was helping a dying man, and then she kind of got caught up in it, but she didn't think Ashlyn was the kind of personality she could just tell what to do. She didn't think that. And then once she realized he punked her around with lying to her, she thought she had the whole upper hand. And she remember when she went and she got him to sign away his company and all rights and everything else with that dummy shell company, and he put up all his money. She thought she just did the okiest doke on him, and boy, didn't that just flip him out. And he flipped the script on her. Nate is too much of a yes man to her. That would not hold her attention, not long at all. And Sheila says, it's like I said yesterday. It appears Phyllis is closer to Summer. She knows Summer more. Summer's more a mama's girl. She has her mom's ability to be resentful, deceiving, secretive, especially when she came between Kyle and his then wife Lola. Yeah, that was Summer. Summer was hot mess. Daniel's more like his dad, Daniel Sr. or Danny. I wish the writers had come up with a better storyline. Me too. I don't like this storyline at all. After all the trouble Nikki, Ashley, and Phyllis went through to prove Diane's duplicity, now it appears it was for naught. What a waste. You're right, Sheila. What a waste. Although I am still not convinced Diane is on the up and up. No, she isn't. It might have been better to let her be and let her hang herself with Jack and Kyle. She hasn't really, she really hasn't changed. No, she hasn't. She hasn't changed at all. Ooh, and then we have Tammy. Tammy, you really got going after that, right? Tammy says, Phyllis always made a good couple with Danny Sr. and Jack Abbott. Only no one else who cares about Diane. Well, I don't care about Diane, never have. Tammy also says Kyle is a mama's boy. He needs to be alone with his mama. Phyllis killed Stark in self-defense. Get it right. Okay, did I say she planned a murder on Stark? Did I say that? Goodness, I do recall when my daily recap on the scene where they ended it, Stark picked up the knife and he took Phyllis and was chasing Phyllis into the bathroom. Oh my goodness, kept me off. So no. I absolutely know Phyllis killed Stark in self-defense. Phyllis bested him. He didn't know what she could have had in that bathroom. And when it all came down to it, we don't necessarily know that Stark was a killer, but we do know Phyllis is one. So there we go. Maybe that's where you got, I'm saying Phyllis just meant to murder Stark. No. But Phyllis is who I want in a dark alley with me. Okay, so there we go. Now, Tammy also says, no, Daniel Romalotti Jr., no, because he would tell and get everything mixed up. And you're making it sound like Phyllis did it on purpose, killing. I am not making it sound like Phyllis killed Stark on purpose, Tammy. I'm not at all. She did it and said, yes, she did do it in self-defense. I'm saying it for the how many of time? I have never, ever said Phyllis planned to murder Stark. Although, when it came down to it, she was going to plan to kill that man because he had threatened her enough. He told her, I'm going to put you in a shallow grave. Oh, Phyllis, being Phyllis, she was going to step back and think, I got to get rid of this one. Okay. Don't mean, Tammy, that I didn't like. I was Team Phyllis until what she did with Summer, and been Team Phyllis for years. Phyllis has killed people over the years. Come on now. Tammy, and I was still a Phyllis fan. I've never too much been a Jack fan though. I really never have. Let's see. And then Tammy also said, Diane and Cal, they're both always defending one another. Diane and Kyle always playing the victim. So Summer and Phyllis have the right to do the same. Yeah. Tammy also says, that's your opinion. I love Phyllis and Jack. Are still my two favorite characters. You can have your own opinion, Tammy. No one says that. I mean, goodness, there are people that like Diane, I'm sure, out there. You can have, I'm not one of them, see, so don't get that twisted, Tammy. Now, you can have your favorites. I like Phyllis and Jack as a couple better than I ever liked Phyllis and Nick. Better ever. Phyllis and Nick, to me, always had that fling thing going on. You know, it's fun while it's fun. It's fun while we're having sex. It's fun. But deep down, Nick could never love Phyllis for Phyllis. Nick was always judging the things that Phyllis would do. Jack loved his red. He did. So as a couple, I liked Phyllis and Jack, Tammy, more than I liked Phyllis and Nick. So let's make sure we get that right. Let's see. Tammy also says, back off about Jack. I want Jack and Phyllis back together. They were 10 times a better couple than him and Diane ever was. You're right. Him and Diane was horrible. Diane is a horrible person. You're right. So there is no back off about Jack. I'm saying back off about Jack the way he's all consumed with Diane. And he's not even thinking rationally. I will not back off about Jack for that. I won't back off for Jack when Diane was in your face, in his face, right in Phyllis's face with the needling comments, just needling Phyllis. And he never once corrected Diane. Never once. I won't back off from Jack because of that at all. But yet Phyllis do one thing. Red, Phyllis, why are you raised? Phyllis, don't you start nothing. I couldn't stand that about Jack. It was a double standard where Diane and Phyllis were concerned, and I couldn't stand it. So, Tammy, make sure you understand that's what I'm saying, period. And then, okay, Tammy also says, and Victor and Nick need to go to jail for Ashlyn's, the cover up of Ashlyn's murder. Why Victor's treating Chance, why is Victor's treating Chance? He thinks he can be above the law. Victor always thinks he's above the law, right? It's time for him to go to jail. Yeah, but he'll never go to jail. Tammy also says, and no, Diane Jenkins hasn't changed. They said Chemo Abbott is not really dead. Who's they? Who's they, Tammy? Are you listening to some spoiler alerts? Right? And Allie are going to going to tell on Diane. And they say Phyllis was right whenever she brings the storyline up. I don't understand that part. And in the script, and Mamie had a secret she knew about Diane too. And Sheila says to Tammy, yes, she did. So I guess Mamie knew a secret, but they just didn't decide to develop it. Whoa, there was an accident right outside my window. I'm gonna pause this recording really quick and see if someone needs some help. I'll be right back, Daily Recap fans. Hold on for a second. Woo, okay, thank you, y'all. I live on a busy street, and Yeah, the paramedics have, or the fire department's been called, 911's been called. I'm sure I'm gonna try to finish this before we hear a bunch of sirens. I have a neighbor living next door. He is a paramedic for the fire department and he sprung into action. So he's assisting the car that got hit the most, and we shall see, but it's not a fatality, thank God. Anyway, where was I? I see Nick and Elena getting closer. I didn't see that. Yes, put Nick and Elena together. Even more exciting, Nick, Elena, and JT. JT has to be fully mentally healed. I don't want Elena getting messed up in any kind of mess, okay? And then Juanita says, I agree. Sherry says, what got me was Phyllis saying, uh-oh, here we go. There's the, okay, good. They didn't do a bunch of sirens. Saying, we can't tell Daniel because he'll want to do the right thing. Summer has no morals. I consider that a put down. I know that was a bit tough here. And then Libby said, bad word, bad words. I see what you did, Libby. That was funny. Because it has the granddaddy of bad words in it. The writers lost their dang mind. Phyllis could have had a fantastic lie in place. She blew it. I know. Why would you come to your daughter without the cover story that she could even, her conscience could even believe? Grr. I'm wondering, since Phyllis said she backed out or blacked out and doesn't remember the murder. Since Phyllis said she blacked out. Really, I didn't hear her say that part. Did she say that? If we still don't have room for the EMT to have done it. Oh, Phyllis would say that. 100 with you on resigning from Team Phyllis, making her kids think she was dead, and it was worse, and this just compounds it. I know. Did the writers also forget that Nate had the vacation conversation with Elena a few weeks ago, and she wasn't going to be able to clear her calendar in the foreseeable future? Or did I remember that wrong? I remember something about that, but I can't think of the entire thing. Nate is a dumb whoop whoop for lying. Libby. I think Audra will tell Elena she's so pleased that Nate put her in charge while he was away in LA with Victoria. And then Dito says, daily recap lady. Libby said a dirty word. I think it is only fair that she be punished. One whole week with Diane Jenkins should teach her not to say that again, LOL. And then Libby says, Dito, shame on me. I guess I'm Libby. And then Dito says, I can't wait to hear how your week with Diane Jenkins went. And Anita says, yep, I'm definitely think the writers have lost it regarding the Phyllis saga. They did a horrible job with that, everybody. Horrible. Nate forgot he told Elena about taking off. Plus, he forgot about Audra. She's always speaking with Elena about the podcast and etc. So yeah, that's going to really come back to bite Nate, and I can't wait for it to come back to bite him. But that's exactly what he deserves. But that's it, everybody. That's my daily recap of The Young and the Restless. I will be back on Monday for another daily recap.